Hey friends, let's binge read a series together. My teenagers are going to tell me that was cringy, but it's fine. I have been talking about how I want to continue on with a couple of trilogies that I have absolutely adored, and I have not carried on because I need to reread. And for a while I was talking about doing spoiler-filled reading vlogs, but it turns out those are really hard for me to do. Getting rid of my impulse to not spoil anything is hard, and I need more practice. But instead of doing a spoiler-filled reading vlog for Godkiller and Sunbringer, I thought maybe we would just read the whole series and maybe do it in a weekend. Sounds risky. Sounds daunting. Sounds like I am definitely setting myself up to fail, but I am nothing if not hopeful, so we're gonna give it my best try. And I'm really excited to reread Godkiller. This was a 5-star book for me. I absolutely adore this main character and this world, and I feel like Godkiller does not get enough love for being such a great fantasy trilogy. I'm assuming. I still need to read book 3. That's what we're here to do. So hopefully book 3 sticks the landing and I can continue to say that this is an underrated, fantastic fantasy trilogy. Fingers crossed. But anyways, we are going to go ahead and dive into this, and yeah, it'll be so fun to read this with you all and then to check it off my list and be a finished series. So yeah, let's go.
Okay, my apologies for the angle, the lighting, fan in the background. I know, it's a whole situation. We are having a heat wave here, and our house is not built for a heat wave. But all that aside, I am 100 pages into Godkiller, so I figured I better come update you before I just finish this book. I really love how Hannah Kaner opens this book. I think she lays the groundwork for this world and these characters so expertly. We are alternating perspectives, and we have 4 different perspectives. Okay, I'll get into that later. In the prologue, we meet Kissin. We meet Kissin, our main character, and she's a child, and this is a world where gods are very much in the mortals' lives, and her father has been favored by the ocean god, and the fire god has manipulated the people of Kissin's village to burn Kissin and her family alive because they are favored by an ocean god. And Kissin manages to escape and to survive, but the rest of her family does not, and she does not escape unscathed either. And then we are flashing forward, and we get Kissin again. She is now a god killer because there has been this war against the gods, and the king has won, and the worship of gods is now illegal. And gods need worship and sacrifice and gifts to survive. And so if you can kill the god's altar, or destroy the god's altar, then you severely weaken the gods. And you can't obliterate them totally because they are gods, but by getting rid of their altar and not allowing people to worship them anymore, you do severely weaken them, and it's going to take them a while to come back. And so Kissin is now a god killer, which is, they're also called Vegas, and that is how she makes a living, is going around and destroying these altars and getting rid of these gods because people are still worshiping illegally, of course. And then we also are following Inara, who is a 12-year-old girl. Her mother is a noblewoman, and Inara is in a sticky situation where she has somehow become bound to this god of white lies named Skethi, and she is trying to figure out how to get them separated. And so we meet Inara as she's sneaking away from her house, and she's going down to the village because she is trying to find a god killer to see if they can offer her some answers. And there she meets Kissin, so now they are together. And then our other perspective is Elo, who is a former knight of the current king, and he is now a baker. He's retired from service, and it's fine. He's bored by this new life of his, but it's also fine. He's not mad about it, but he's definitely not like absolutely enthralled with his new lot in life. And while he is getting ready for the next day, like prepping the dough for the next day, the king arrives in his bakery and is like, yo, I need your help. And I need you to go on like this journey for me. And we learn a secret about the king at the end of that chapter. And then our last point of view is Skethi, the little god who is tied to Inara. And I think the thing I love about this so much is that we have these 4 perspectives. And sometimes when there's a lot of perspectives, there is one that I end up preferring. And I'm always kind of mad when we switch to another one. But because all these people are traveling together, or they are going to be traveling together, I mean, we're 100 pages in, and Kissen and Elo and Inara and Skethi, of course, have just ended up in the same spot. So it takes a minute. They are all in this caravan traveling to the same city, though they all have very different goals once they get there. And I love that we have these 4 different perspectives, but they're in the same spot. They're going on the same journey. And you're not even getting the same situation from their perspectives, but I think Hannah Kaner is so good about switching perspectives mid-action. And so you are getting, how this character is interpreting what's happening, what it's like for this one, or what it's like for this one. And it keeps it so engaging, and it doesn't give me a chance to really get bored with any one person's perspective. It also doesn't kill the momentum of the story because we're staying in the moment, we're staying with what is happening, but the lens is changing. And I really love that. I think it's really good storytelling. I had forgotten how quietly queer this book is. Kissen is bi. There is a lesbian couple in this book, and I think it's just so casual, and it's just there, and nobody makes a big deal out of it. Nobody is threatened by it. Nobody challenges it. And it just is a world where these relationships exist, and that's really great. It also has great disability rep. Kissen, in that prologue where her house was burned, she lost her leg, and so she wears a prosthetic, and she also uses a wheelchair at times because that prosthetic is really uncomfortable, and it talks about how clunky and painful a prosthetic can be, but also how necessary it is for Kissen to move through the world the way she wants to move through the world. There's also a character who is deaf. Sign language has been a big part of this book, and I just think, again, the disability is done so casually, or the disability rep, I should say, is done so casually and quietly, and it's just there. It's just there. These people exist. It's a fully fleshed out world with all types of different people in it, and I really love to read fantasy where all types of people have been imagined into this fantasy, and imagined in a really deliberate way, not as an afterthought or pity representation, you know? So I'm still absolutely loving it, which is great because whenever I reread a former 5-star, I do get nervous that it will not be a 5-star anymore. And I've been really delighted with just how compulsively readable it is this time around, because it has been, I think, over a year since I read it for the first time. And so a lot of it is still familiar, but also I've forgotten a lot of the details, and it's really nice to go back into it. So I'm going to continue to read, and it's such a short little book. I don't know how much more I'll come and update you, but it is, I know, it's just amazing. That feels like hyperbole, but I just love this book so much.
I owe you an apology. I finished it without updating you again. Let me catch you up a little bit. First of all, I love that we get 100 pages in before these 4 characters are all in the same spot. And I love that there's a little bit of a road trip in this, because I do love a journey. I feel like it just keeps like the action moving. I also love, is this in the thing? Is this in the synopses at all? Okay, it's not. So let me just say, without any context, there's a moment where Elo thinks about how much he likes when Kissen outsmarts him or is smarter than him. And man, do I love that. That is my favorite. I also realized while I was listening to this that in fiction, just in fiction, So in case my husband watches this, don't get any ideas. I love a man with a martyr complex in a book. It's my favorite because a man with a martyr complex is just going to throw himself on his sword for everyone. And I love it in a book. I love it. I really like how quick this book is. I mean, we are really clipping along. There is no time for flowery writing and for us to get really like lost in minutia. Everything has to have a purpose. Everything has to be moving the story forward, whether it's plot, whether it's character development, whatever it is. It has to be moving when you have a book this short. And I think Hannah Kaner does it so well because while we are moving along and there aren't wasted words in this, but there is so much world building, there's so much character development, there's so much interpersonal relationships between these four main characters. And I just think she's so efficient with the way she uses language in this book. And I wish more fantasy writers were this efficient with their world building because I think she just does an absolutely stellar job. And this is her debut! Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean this is her debut? I had forgotten. There's a reveal, maybe 3/4 of the way through this, and I had forgotten just how utterly gut-wrenching that reveal is. And obviously I knew it was coming, but I wasn't anticipating it, and so I wasn't as anguished. That's so dramatic. I wasn't as anguished by it this time around. But man, do you feel for the characters because it is an absolute gut punch of a reveal for one of them. Because it's like, what does anything mean now that thing has been revealed? Like, what is their place in the world supposed to be when they've built so much of who they are around things? It's being so big. So hard. Anyways, this also ends on a super big cliffhanger. And I also do like how I was saying maybe I could read this trilogy all in one weekend, and it's taking me the whole weekend to read book one, which is the shortest of the series. But I do remember Sunbringer is not a 5-star because Hannah Kaner does the thing that a lot of authors in fantasy series do that I don't love, where we've met all these characters in book one. They've been together for most of book one, and I have fallen in love with their dynamics with each other and the relationships that are building, and I just love having them all together. And in book two, they are all going to be separate for the majority of the book, because of what they have to do and what they have to accomplish theoretically to get us into book three. Remembering I haven't read book three yet. So I'm anticipating being kind of cranky during Sunbringer because they aren't going to be together. And I'm going to be real mad about it because I want them together all the time. But this is still a 5-star. Absolutely still one of my favorite books. It's so good. So I am not going to start Sunbringer tonight. I'm going to start it tomorrow. Give myself some time to emotionally recover and, you know, do some other things, read for some other vlog projects that I'm working on. And then tomorrow morning we will start Sunbringer. And I will try to update you more as I'm reading that one. And I will try to keep it vague, though I don't know that the way this one ends, while it is a cliffhanger, I don't know that it would be a big spoiler, just because you could pick up the back of the book, you know, the other books, and see who is still involved, I think. But we'll talk about it tomorrow. All right, as promised, I am here to talk to you because I did start Sunbringer. I'm only 36 pages into this book, and we basically have started off right where Faithbreaker's the third book. Why can't I remember anything's called today? Sunbringer. No, this is Sunbringer. God, Jesus Christ. Godkiller. Sunbringer is picking up right where Godkiller has left off. So there's no time break. We're picking up right where we left off. Like I mentioned, not everybody is separated, but like a very prominent character is separated from everybody else. And it's already made me sad that they're not all together. But I do want to read you a quote with no context at all, only to say that, remember how I said I really like a man who thinks he's a martyr in a book? This is exhibit 35 million in support of that. And I'm not going to tell you who he's saying this to, so no context, but this is Elo. I will always be in your debt. If I am anyone's knight now, I am yours. Your protector, your brother, uncle, father, villain, whatever you need me to be, I'll be it. Tell me that he is not the best man ever. You can't, because it's not true. He is. Elo is, in fact, the best man ever. So anyways, I'm on chapter 6. I'm going to keep reading, of course, and I'm hoping that I like this better on the reread, because the first time through, I was very impatient for them to all to be together again. And now that I know that's not in the cards for this book, that's not what this book is doing, my hope is that I will be able to settle down and just sink into the writing and sink into the journey each individual character is on throughout this particular book, because I'm sure Faithbreaker is gonna like rip my heart out and make me real sad. So I'm gonna enjoy this one as much as possible. We do get a 5th perspective introduced, but it is someone who is not on the side you want to be in this book. That's all I'll say. So I will update when I'm a little bit further, and of course I'll let you know if there's any other like peak Elogast quotes along the way. Was I in this position last time I updated you? I don't remember. I haven't. I'm doing a real bad job binge reading. I feel like this is pretty dark. Hold please. Let's fix this. Is this better? Yes, but this is also definitely the same position I was in last time. Okay. I'm doing a real bad job binge reading because it's been like 2 weeks, but I am still reading. And just I'm not a fast reader, and I just have to embrace that I'm a mid-speed reader, and that is fine. Anyways, I'm a little over 60% into Sunbringer, and I have yet another Elogast is the best man on earth quote to read you. You get 0 context for this, by the way. Another character says, "We'll have your head for this, Elogast. The king will know this is your doing. He will see it so." And Elo, a prize that he is, says, "He had my heart and lost it. My head is not on offer." I mean, come on. I don't think I loved Elogast this much the first time around. I liked him, but I was like fully into Kissin the first time around, and I'm still super into Kissin, but like Elo, I just love him so much more this time. This series is really like a bisexual's dream, because there's just so many options of people to like fangirl over, and I'm just obsessed with Elo. I also think I'm enjoying it. So I'm enjoying it more this time for a couple reasons. One, I know where we're going. I know how it's going to be. I'm not waiting for them all to come back together, because that's not the point of this book. This is, I would say, is very much a book 2 in a trilogy type of book, where everybody is like, they're like pieces on a board and are being moved around to where they need to be for book 3. And I actually really like a book 2 in a trilogy. I don't mind when we're moving people around like that to get them where they need to be, because I feel like also book 2s in a series, like when people say they suffer from second book syndrome, I feel like those are also the books where you learn the most about the characters. Yeah, maybe not the most happens plot-wise, but I think that's where we get a lot of character development, and I love to get to know characters better. So I love a book 2. I love a second book syndrome. I don't love when the found family isn't together, but you know, I at least I have correct expectations this time. We're also spending, I feel like, significantly less time with Kissin in this book. We are still getting her perspective, but just not as often, and we're really focused on what is happening with Elo, Inara, and Sketty. And now I have realistic expectations of who we're focused on and what is going to happen, and so I'm able to enjoy it more. And this book, they're preparing for war. Like, they have to fight against this corrupt person, and we're prepping for that in different ways. And Kissin is unknowingly prepping for it in the journey that she is on, following the end of book 1. And then Elo and Inara and Sketty are still in the city, and they are prepping for actual war. Like, no, they are prepping for war. They know it's coming. They know what has to be, so they're rallying the citizens together and trying to come up with a plan. I love how Hannah Kaner writes a battle or a fight scene. I guess we haven't really gotten battles yet, but how she writes a fight scene. Normally I will skim them or like kind of glaze over, where like, okay, fine, like I get the highlights, but I'm not super into the minutia of it, but I am riveted when she writes a fight scene. I love how she writes them. And I'm starting to get nervous about book 3. I kind of remember how this ends. I remember one of the reveals, but I don't actually remember. Okay, so let me take that back. I remember one of the reveals, but I don't remember the actual ending. But I feel like Faithbreaker is just going to hurt my feelings the whole time. He does. And where else was I going? I had one more thing I wanted to say. What was it? Oh, I remember what I wanted to say. I also like the momentum. This book is so well paced. So in Godkiller, the chapters they're pretty short. They're not like the shortest chapters ever, but for a fantasy book, they're pretty short. Like, we're switching perspectives often and quickly. And in Sunbringer, they start out about the same length as they were in Godkiller, and then the farther you get into the book, the shorter they get and the shorter they get, and it builds this momentum where suddenly I'm like trying to get through the book, not my bookmark, and I really I don't know if she did that on purpose or if that's just like how it shook out, but the chapters are like 2 to 3 pages. There was one that was like a page and a half. And I feel like having the chapters get progressively shorter and shorter and switching perspectives more and more makes it feel like the pace is just ramping up. Like, we're just barreling down the mountain toward our destination, and the brakes don't work and we can't steer, and all we can do is like hold on and hope for the best. And I feel like that makes it such an exciting book to read. And it feels like even if I'm not super interested in what is happening in a particular chapter, which isn't really the case, but I feel like even if it was, knowing that it's going to end in a couple pages and we're going to jump to somebody else is great. Especially since Kissin's in a totally different place, because in book 1, because we switched perspectives so often, but they were all together, and so you would still be in what was happening. Your lens would just shift. And in this one, like, as we bounce between Skedi and Elo and Inara, that is still roughly, they're in the same place, same thing going on. They're working towards the same goal. They're all collaborating together. So even when you jump that plot progression, I guess, I don't know, I'm just making up word combinations at this point, that's staying the same. But then when we go to Kissin, we're totally in a totally different spot. So I just miss having them all together. Even if Faithbreaker is gonna emotionally eviscerate me, as long as they're all together, I'll be happy. So I think the next time I talk to you, I will have finished this because I don't have very much farther to go. I'm actually hoping to finish it tomorrow, and then we're gonna start Faithbreaker, and I'm gonna be so sad. But I'm really glad I chose to reread, because I was on the fence for a long time. I've basically had Faithbreaker since it came out, and I've been debating ever since whether or not I reread the series before starting Faithbreaker, and I'm so glad I decided to reread the series because I've forgotten so much of this book and of Godkiller. So it was a good choice on my part.
Okay, we got another stellar Elo guest. Why did I say his name like that? Elo quote. I don't know. I can't talk anymore. Y'all, it's been a day. Isn't a day. Teaching recreation gymnastics for an hour to 5-year-olds who have just spent their second full day in kindergarten. It was a time. Anyways, once again, no context. Somebody asked Elo, they're talking about the coming war, and he's talking about the past war and what type of person he was during that war, like as a commander, and talking about that even though they won the war, they lost lots of things as well. Okay, so I guess like a little bit of context. And then this other person, she asks, then when does it stop? I don't know, said Elo honestly, cruelly. I just know we cannot let a king drag us into darkness without fighting back. No matter how much we lose. It does matter, said Elo. It matters what we lose, but that doesn't stop it. It just, this book hits so hard, and it's so good. It's so good. Okay, we got another car update because school has started back up again, and I finished Sunbringer right before I had to leave to come pick up my youngest, and I initially gave it 4.5 stars, and I'm gonna stay with that 4.5 stars. I don't really have anything else to add too much. I appreciate that the ending isn't super cliffhangery, like just a little bit to keep you interested, but not so much that it was like painful, and I don't necessarily feel like, oh my gosh, I have to jump into book 3 to find out what happens. I mean, I do feel like that because I'm reading the whole series and I do want to know what's happened because these other 2 are rereads, but it isn't like Hannah Kanner isn't messing with me with that ending to get me to pick up book 2. No, book 3. Y'all, I can't with words this week. So still 4.5. Like how it ends. I like how everyone is maneuvered. I like how the alliances are kind of established and shifting at the end. Everything feels like it's on very uneven grounds, like, and it could shift in any direction at any moment. So my sister has finished the series already, and she told me that book 3 gets even gayer. So I'm interested. I think I might know how it gets gayer. Be interested to see if I'm correct or if that was just like a red herring or like something I read too much into. But so good. It's just so good. And I really loved how Inara and Sketty's relationship ebbs and flows and wanes and strengthens in this book. I feel like that's all done really well. Just watching everybody's relationships dynamics shift and adapt is great. This book though is brutal violence wise. Like it is brutal. Some truly horrific things happen to some people in Sunbringer, and I'm sure Faithbreaker is just going to be even worse. But with that, I need to go grab my youngest and then do all the mom things this afternoon, and I'm hoping to start Faithbreaker this evening.
I swear I filmed an update talking to you when I first started this book, but I cannot find that footage anywhere, and this is where I am now. So we're gonna pretend that I'm 50 pages in, and I'm gonna tell you that I loved, okay, made my hair worse. I loved the opening of this book. We got a really sweet scene, and not sweet, we got a really fun scene with Kissin and Elo, and it just reinforced how much I love their dynamic together. And that opening scene was like, I mean, there was a prologues, whatever. That opening scene, it was so good. And then of course, like that lightheartedness only lasts for a really short amount of time, but I really appreciated that is where we started in the story, is with those two just having a moment with each other where they are at ease and comfortable and enjoying each other's company. And I just loved it. Since then, also I want to clarify something I said earlier where I was talking about how this book is more gay, because I don't want that to be taken the wrong way. When I say more gay, I just mean more gay characters. Not that there's like a more gay sexuality than others. Okay, good. Glad we clarified that. Anyways, this is more gay. There are more gay characters, and that's great, and I love that. Okay, she split them up again. Like, why? Why? It's a different dynamic, she split them up differently, just fine, I guess. Elo and Kissin still aren't together though. Like, why do Elo and Kissin have to be the two that are separated? I want them together for a whole book, even if it's not romantic, just the two of them as friends. I really love their dynamic, and the fact that I have not gotten them to be together for a whole book makes me upset. So it's a different dynamic. I feel like Elo's chapters are really breaking my heart. He is going through so much and is experiencing so much pain and heartache and loss, and there's a kind of a theme of, or a through line of PTSD from the last war that he was in, and my heart just breaks for him. And then Kissin and Inara and Sketty are on another path, side quest. They're doing something else, and it's really interesting how Hannah Kanner has played with our expectations of characters. Some characters that have been in this book from book 1, their objectives have changed in really big ways. And so it's been interesting to see how that is playing out. And we're getting a lot more perspectives in this one. We still have our four main people, but there are more characters who get POVs every once in a while. They're not necessarily like in a regular rotation, but every once in a while their perspective will pop in. I really like what Hannah Kaner is examining with faith and power and what it means to give someone or something the power of your belief, and also how that can be manipulated and corrupted. I feel like she is also trying to foist two romances on me that I am not interested in, because if it's not apparent already, I am a Elo and Kissin fan for life, and anybody else that Kaner is writing for them to be interested in, no thanks. I don't want it. I don't want it. I want them. They don't have this relationship, but I wish I got more pining, or any pining, but it's not that kind of relationship. And that's okay. I think Inara's path in this book is really interesting. I'm really interested as I get into this last 100 pages what is going to happen for her and her relationships with Sketty and with someone else that's in these books. And she just learned something about who she is, and someone who could be in her life but isn't in her life. And I don't know how that's all going to shake out quite yet, so I'm interested for that to go. I don't know how we get out of the situation we're in the not even 100 pages I have left. I have 90 pages left. I don't know how in 90 pages we get out of here, but I also think, I talked about this in the footage I can't find. I think these books are deceptively slim. I think Harper Voyager uses really tiny font because this is a 17-hour audiobook. But it says it's only 400 pages. And I feel like it doesn't look like a 17-hour audiobook. So I think these books are deceptively small, and we're actually getting a much chunkier story in the pages that we have than it looks like we're getting. So I know a lot is going to happen in 90 pages. I haven't been too... there's a lot of battles, and our characters are in a lot of really stressful, dangerous situations. I feel like I should be more upset or more on edge, but I feel like right now I'm trusting that Hannah Kaner won't do anything irreversible to somebody I really care about. I am basing this on nothing. I have no reason to think she is going to be precious about her characters. She could be totally heartless and kill everybody, and then I'd be it's so sad. But I'm just trusting that these four will be okay at the end of it, and I don't need to get upset or stressed out during all the fight scenes. But also I feel like it would be nice to have a little bit more emotional buy-in right now. I feel like I should. I feel like there's something wrong with me that I don't, but I also can't force something I don't feel. So we're just hoping everybody's okay. Though she did do something to one character, and I am convinced that that character is fine. That actually didn't happen. And that character is going to show back up at the end, and it'll all be okay. Like a Marvel movie. We didn't see the body, so that character must be fine, right? Yeah, totally. Anyways, I'm going to finish this book now. We are going to keep our fingers crossed that everything is going to be okay in 90 pages. Okay, good. Glad we had that talk. I will come and report back when I have finished the Fallen Gods trilogy. Sometimes when you complain, you get what you want, is all I'm saying. I was complaining about how they're all separated, and then a chapter later, they're back together again. And again, the camaraderie between Inara and Kissin and Elo is just so well done. They feel so close. They have such great rapport with each other. I'm also really digging the exploration between faith and fanaticism, and when it tips, though that is really frustrating when you're dealing with the characters who have tipped over into fanaticism. But I also understand what Hannah Kaner is doing with these romances, or with these other love interests, but she set the bar too high with Elo and Kissin in the first book, and nobody else is going to be good enough. Though it was fun to watch Kissin roast Elo a little bit about his choices. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. I finished it. All right, before I tell you my rating, I just want to tell you how perfect I felt like this ending was. I didn't necessarily love all the actions leading up to the end, but I loved the ending. I loved where she left everybody, how she left everybody, the potential for more for them, not necessarily for her to write more, but just like you know that their story is not over for them, and they're, you know, like if they're real characters, like this is not the end for them. They are going to go on and do more things and love more people. You know, the group is not as full as it was at the beginning of the series, but I feel like this ending was just pretty perfect, in my opinion. I am giving it a 4.5 stars. It's not a full 5 because I felt like there were some battle scenes that went on just for a little too long. Maybe not a little too long, but like my attention drifted. And I feel like there were some parts of this book that maybe weren't fully necessary to the story, and it could have been tightened up, like maybe just like a little tiny bit. Also, I might be docking it 0.5 star just because of how often Kissin and Elo were not on page together. But I think there's something really lovely about their relationship, and something also it's just like, it's so supportive and kind, and they really enjoy each other, and no one's like territorial or gets jealous. They both sleep with other people, and neither one of them gets butthurt about it. They're just like, yeah, is that gonna make you happy? Because they just want the other one to be happy and to be okay and to be safe. And their friendship just made the whole series for me this time around. I just absolutely adored it. It was so wonderful. It was just absolutely wonderful. And yes, there were times where I wanted it to be more romantic, more yearning, more something, but that just wasn't what it was, and it wasn't fair of me to be wanting that when that was never the relationship for them that Hannah Kaner presented me with. It was just like my expectations from reading romance, and that's not what that is. Like, there are romantic relationships and sexual relationships in this book, but I don't think you could ever, never, ever, ever classify this book under fantasy romance. It's just fantasy, and it's great. So that means I have finally finished the Fallen Gods trilogy, and I'm so happy. I'm also kind of devastated that it's over and that I'm done with these characters, but also really delighted that I enjoyed my reread of Godkiller and Sunbringer so much, because then that means that I will enjoy a reread of the whole trilogy in the future, and that I have that to look forward to if I ever find myself missing these characters so much that I want to pick these books up again. I'm really excited for what Hannah Kaner does next, because I believe Godkiller was her debut, and I just can't wait for her next book. She's definitely an auto-buy author for me. I think it's safe to say she is one of my favorite authors, even though I gave Sunbringer and Faithbreaker 4.5 stars. Like, this is a 5-star series for me. It has so many elements that I really look for and I really love in a fantasy book. And I almost didn't read Godkiller the first time through. I was still subscribed to Illumicrate when this was one of the books, or when this was a pick, and I skipped it because I hadn't heard really good reviews for it early on, and I wasn't sure that it was going to be for me. And then a bookseller I follow on Instagram, whose taste I really trust, raved about it and put it back on my radar. I was like, okay, this person liked it, I will give it another shot, and I'm so glad I did. Or not even another shot, just I'll give it a shot in general. And I'm so glad I did, because like my life would be so much sadder without this series. So anyways, thank you so much for watching and spending your precious time with me. I would love to know if you've read this trilogy and what your thoughts are, or if you just like watched this video for shits and giggles. Are you interested in picking this series up now that you've watched me yap about it for so long? And I had another thing I was going to ask you, but I can't remember what it was. So if you want to just leave an emoji to let me know you were here, Let's do a sun emoji, and like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!